Today's top stories. Why your local LLM feels dumber than it is. NanoGPT Speedrun Frontier, fast and hard code. JIT Compiling Code in 5 Muse. 7 basic iPhone tricks I built with iOS 27's Revamped Shortcuts app. The 6 best laptop docking stations to unlock the full desktop experience. 2026. Inherent, founded by DeepMind alumni, says its AI teammate just outperformed Anthropic and OpenAI at replicating research. Will the DOJ's investigation into A16Z spook other VCs? Harvard's $699 startup bootcamp offers AI avatars of its instructors. And 2 years after launch, Walmart's Flipkart is closing in on India's quick commerce leaders. We start with why your local LLM feels dumber than it is. Why your local LLM feels dumber than it is. Quick introduction: we have all been on forums, chats, Reddit, Discord, YouTube, or somewhere and heard, "Oh, Model XYZ is amazeballs, Zomgut," then downloaded it, or more likely, some quantized form of it, and said, "Ewa, this sucks." This post is going to be a rather technical series of experiments to demonstrate the impact of implementation-specific hazards with inference. I will be using the term reference implementation to describe the lab that published and offers first-party hosting of their models and posts original benchmark claims. Their hardware will be different than yours. Their software will be very different than yours. And the comparisons in this post are not going to be running some 258-bit GGuffin Alama with a couple test prompts. I am intentionally glossing over entire emerging fields of study, mountains of research papers, and lit review to make this more approachable for you, the reader. Don't nitpick my oversimplifications, or I will make you read the really long, unpleasant version with math. Your local implementation sucks. But that's okay, because everyone else's does too. Every single instance of hardware and software running an LLM today is a little bit diff. NanoGPT Speedrun Frontier. NanoGPT Speedrun Frontier. We ran 153 autonomous runs across 18 frontier models on the NanoGPT Optimizer Speedrun. All models best validated result. For each model, one Fable 5,272,680, 1.7%. Closed Claude code high at 24H 30,108.7 D2. Opus 5,292,053.6%. Closed Claude code max at 24H 30,452.9 D3. Kimi K32930, 522% closed. Prime Agent max at 24H 31,253.6 D4. Kimi K3297445.8%. Closed Kimi code max at 24H 31,355.1 D5 Opus 48301839.4%. Closed Claude code max at 24H 31,803 D6 GPT 5.6 Sol 304235.9%. Closed Codex. X high at 24H 31,606.1 D7 GPT 5.6 Sol Pro 30.58336%. Closed Codex. X high at 24H 31,003.4 D8 Sonnet 5,310,526.8%. Closed Claude code max at 24H 31,202 D9 GPT 5.6 Luna 3110261%. Closed Codex X high at 24H 31,701.9 D10 Grok 453120246%. Closed Grok Cli X high at 24H 31,602.7 D11 QN3. 8 Max 3120246%. Closed QN code max at 24H 32,251.9 D12 GLM. 523150203%. Closed Pi high at 24H 32,001.8 D13 DeepSeek V4 Pro 320.5123%. Closed Claude code max at 24H 32,051.1 D14 GPT 5.6 Terra 3214110%. Closed Codex X high at 24H 32,141.1 D15 Grok. 463220101%. Closed Grok Cli X high 0. 6 D16 Muse Spark 123233087%. Closed Muse Code X high 0. 6 D17 Muse Spark 113232884%. Closed Pi Max at 24H 32,403.7 D18 GPT 55323481%. Closed Codex X high at 24H 32340, 1.1d. Fast and hard code. Written on August 22, 2026, one of the memes on Twitter is that programming is solved now. I'm not sure to what degree it is, but one thing is pretty clear. The act of familiarizing yourself with a language no longer matters, and some of the friction that mattered for humans does not matter for agents. As a result, LLMs make language choice much less consequential than it used to be. If you don't like the choice, you can seemingly rewrite it in another language, and you can make it pick a language that you, as a programmer, are entirely unfamiliar with, which in turn means that people can, and do, choose based on the marketing of languages much more. As a long-term Rust programmer, I found it quite fascinating to see people now ship Rust code who previously might not have chosen it. I attribute at least one part of this to two recent vibe shifts. There is a lot more talk about wanting fast software, and about LLMs being exceptional at optimizing code without regressing behavior. Folks like Mitchell Hashimoto, Charlie Marsh, Jared Sumner, Daniel Lemire, and quite a few others always carried a certain level of obsession with fast and performant software, and they also all happen to be R. JIT Compiling Code in 5 Muse. Historically, fast JIT compilation was a black art. To write a fast JIT compiler, you would need to know how to write assembly. Case in point, there is no production-ready database today that has its own JIT compiler. They all either use LLVM or generate C++ code. Both of these options suffer from high compile times, which limits their applicability. Now, with the use of AI, it's easier than ever to write a JIT compiler with fast compile times by directly targeting assembly. This is also one area of opportunity for new databases to improve on old ones. When building pgrust, I initially thought it would be really hard to implement a JIT compiler. In the end, I found it much easier than I expected due to AI assistance, and it ends up being part of the reason why pgrust is so fast. The pgrust JIT compiler compiles code in around 5 Muse, which enables us to JIT compile every SQL query, not just a subset of them. In this post, I'll walk you through how you can build your own fast JIT compiler. We'll build a simple regular expression engine that uses JIT compilation as an example. Why JIT compilation? JIT compilation is the practice of generating compiled code at runtime or just in time. 7 basic iPhone tricks I built with iOS 27's Revamped Shortcuts app. I've never used Apple's built-in Shortcuts app before, despite owning an iPhone for years. While automating tedious tasks sounded nice, the necessary scripting to trigger actions and thread them together felt overwhelming when I first opened the app. But my experience with the iOS 27 beta has completely changed my perspective on shortcuts. What was previously clunky and forgotten now feels streamlined and essential. When iOS 27 lands this fall, Siri AI might be the most tangible change for many users, with its improved capabilities and standalone app. Even so, Apple Intelligence integration into the Shortcuts app has me humming Zero to Hero from Disney's Hercules. Called Describe a Short, it lets you say what you want it to do conversationally. Then the app generates an automation flow. You can also tweak it by sending a follow-up prompt in the app. The manual scripting option remains available for power users. Since I was testing this app through the iOS 27 beta, I experienced a couple of glitches where the automations didn't generate perfectly. Even so, this new Shortcuts feature was incredibly fun to tinker with. After a few tries, I generated automations that actually feel. The 6 best laptop docking stations to unlock the full desktop experience, 2026. The best laptop docking stations to supercharge your workstation featured in this article. Laptops are ideal for getting work done when you're out and about. But if you need the functionality of a full workstation, being hunched over a small, flat keyboard can quickly get annoying. However, connecting your laptop to a secondary monitor, a mouse, and a comfier keyboard can turn your desk space into a nest of tangled cables. Not to mention that many of today's laptops are designed to be as thin as possible and don't have the ports you may need to connect some peripherals. That's when it's time to get a laptop docking station. Laptop docking stations are small boxes that sit on your desk and stay connected to your monitor, or monitors, and peripherals such as speakers, a keyboard, or a mouse. With the right docking station, you can enjoy the portability of a laptop with the flexibility and features of a desktop. These stations can get expensive, though, and it's hard to figure out which to buy based on a list of ports or specs. I've tested many of the most popular options and whittled the list down to the best laptop docking stations for various use cases. Be sure to check out our auth. Inherent, founded by DeepMind alumni, says its AI teammate just outperformed Anthropic and OpenAI at replicating research. Inherent, a London AI lab founded by Google DeepMind alumni, says its AI agent just outperformed much larger models from Anthropic and OpenAI using a fraction of the size. Of all the startups launched by Google DeepMind alumni, Inherent has gotten relatively little attention. But while better-funded rivals have yet to show the world anything concrete, the London-based team is starting to share what it's been building. Just weeks after emerging from stealth with a $50 million seed round, the British startup says its newly released AI agent, Faraday, has outperformed larger, better-known models at a specific task, independently reproducing the findings of published scientific papers without being told the answer in advance. That may sound like a mere party trick given Inherent's much loftier goal, building AI that can discover new scientific knowledge and not just verify old results. But paper replication is a standard training exercise for human scientists, too, co-founder and chief scientist Edward Hughes said. Many PhD students actually start by doing this. Beating other AI systems at the task wasn't the point, Hughes told TechCrunch. How they got there was. What was most inter? Will the DOJ's investigation into A16Z spook other VCs? Following a Bloomberg report that the Department of Justice is investigating venture firm Andreessen Horowitz for holding board seats with rival AI companies, VCs told TechCrunch that they were baffled. On the latest episode of the Equity Podcast, Kirsten Korosik, Sean O'Kane, and I were similarly puzzled by the news. Yes, VC conflicts of interest are worth taking seriously, but as Kirsten wondered, of all the things that the DOJ would focus on in terms of level of importance, why does this one rise to the top? The news was also surprising because of A16Z's ties with the Trump administration, and because the firm has been so quiet about the investigation. It's a real contrast with the firm's activity during the Biden years, when, as Sean put it, every little policy change, especially related to crypto, generated a day's worth of posting. But Sean also speculated that by targeting A16Z, the DOJ might also be setting an example that smaller firms would follow. Keep reading for a preview of our conversation, edited for length and clarity. Kirsten Korosik, I think that you bring some interesting perspective to this, Anthony, because you actually worked at a VC firm, whereas S. Harvard's $699 startup bootcamp offers AI avatars of its instructors. As Harvard Business School seeks to expand its reach, it's leaning on AI avatars to provide individual feedback. These avatars were created by a startup called HeyGen and are included in the 8-week, $699 HBS Foundry Bootcamp for entrepreneurs. The program offers live sessions with instructors every week, but the AI avatars are the ones providing feedback during practice pitches and board meetings. New York Times reporter Sarah Kessler actually tried this out herself by pitching an AI-generated copy of Flybridge Capital co-founder Jeff Busgang. Apparently, both the real Busgang and his simulacra were unimpressed by her plan to build Uber for bananas, but Kessler said the virtual version offered a noticeably frozen smile during her pitch. Project director Katharina Rings said she initially envisioned the AI component as something closer to a chatbot. However, after HBS released a trial version, students said they wanted a more guided experience. And while some college students haven't been shy about expressing their negative feelings towards AI, Foundry participants told Kessler they like the avatars. As for Busgang, he acknowledged his digital copy is a little creepy. But 2 years after launch, Walmart's Flipkart is closing in on India's quick commerce leaders. Indian startups spent years getting consumers accustomed to having groceries and everyday goods delivered within minutes. Now Walmart-owned Flipkart is rapidly closing the gap with those quick commerce pioneers, as global rival Amazon mounts its own push into instant delivery. Flipkart Minutes, which debuted in August 2024 as the e-commerce giant's foray into quick commerce, is now delivering 1.1 million to 1.2 million orders a day, up from about 390,000 to 400,000 in November. People familiar with the matter told TechCrunch. That puts the 2-year-old service close to Swiggy's Instamart, which is delivering about 1.4 million orders a day, according to a person familiar with its operations. The gap is notable as Flipkart is a relative latecomer to a market whose top ranks have been dominated by Instamart, Blinkit, and Zepto. Food delivery giant Swiggy launched Instamart in 2020, and Zepto arrived the following year, both during the pandemic, while Blinkit traces its roots to online grocery platform Grofers, founded in 2013. The three have since established themselves as India's top quick commerce players. Blinkit continues to dominate the market with around 3.4 million to 3.6 million. That's all for this news briefing. Thanks for listening. Also, don't forget to hit the subscribe button.